Once again, the very warm welcome to everyone. I'm Chef Preeti Sinhal, an assistant professor at AISSMS, the College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology, Pune. Previously, I have shared the topic sauce, part 1. I'm sure, and I believe that you must have gone through with that slide. So connecting with that, this is the second part. In that, I'm going to show the component of the sauce. In the first part of the sauces, I have told you the importance of sauce in the preparation of the food and what are the definition and everything. So over here, we are going to talk about what are the components of the sauce. So let's move ahead with that. The major sauces we consider here are made of 3 kinds of ingredients. First is a liquid, which is the body of the sauce, a thickening agent, and the flavoring and the seasoning ingredients. Actually, to understand sauce making, a very first thing to learn is how to prepare these components and then how to combine them into finished sauces is very, very important. So let's go through one. And this is the part 1 of component of sauce. There is a part 2 also, which is connecting to the same. So let's go through with one components. So first component is liquid. The liquid ingredients provides the body or base of most sauces. Now there are basically 5 to 6 liquids or bases on which most sauces are built. And the resulting sauces are called leading sauces or mother sauces. If we'll see, there are around 6 liquids are there, 5 to 6, in that which is used to make the mother sauces. So white stock, which can be of chicken or veal or fish for velouté sauce. Then brown stock for brown sauce or espinal. Then milk for bechamel. Then tomato and plus along with that stock. For tomato sauce, it's been used. After that, clarified butter for hollandaise sauce and salad oil or olive oil or vegetable oil. These are used for mayonnaise sauce. So these are the liquid which are used to make our mother sauces. So it is very, very important that the basic component, which is over here, the stocks, majorly if you see that, should be made with very, very skill. If your base is good, which is going to be put into or which is another base for your sauce, then the final product will come out good. So to take care that these stocks are well made with full skill and attention. After that, we move to the thickening agents. The sauce must be thick enough to cling lightly to the food. Otherwise, it will just run off and lie in a puddle in the plate. It does not mean but that it has to be heavy or pasty. It should have a light, full-bodied, pouring or flowing consistency. Normally, starches are still the most commonly used thickening agent. But if you go to the fine dine restaurants and who follows the proper method of cooking, in that you will see that chefs are still making some basic sauces, some other sauces which are used for the final preparation for the dishes. So now let's see that what are these thickening agents which are used. Roux, starches, then beurre mani, it is known as mani butter also. Then yolks of egg and cream lyser. Then blood, which is very, very rarely used. Earlier it used to be used, but nowadays we see a very rare use of blood. So let's move to the each thickening agent and to understand how these has been made, prepared to use into or to use as a thickening agent for the sauce. So first I'm going to talk about or to tell you about roux. Roux is a cooked mixture. It's a cooked mixture of fat and flour, which is equal parts by weight of both the ingredients. So in that, majorly, if you see, there are two ingredients, fat and flour. Now, if I talk about these ingredients, whereas the first is fat. So how do you cook that and which fats can be used? That is one of the important points to discuss. So in that, we can use clarified butter, which is mostly preferred for the finest sauces because of its flavor. Then we can use margarine, which is also widely used in place of butter because of its lower cost. But see, it is inferior to the butter and does not make as fine a sauce, whereas a butter can do it. Then animal fat, such as chicken fat, beef drippings, and lard are used when their flavor is appropriate to the particular sauce. For an example, I can say chicken fat can be used for chicken velouté, or beef drippings can be used for beef gravies. Then vegetable oil and shortening that can be used for roux, but since they add no flavor, they are mostly not preferred to use it. Now, let's talk about that. How many types of roux are there? What should be the texture? A good roux should be stiff, not runny, or a pourable. Now, the second ingredient over here is flour. So the thickening power of flour depends in part of its starch content. If we see, if we use the bread flour, has less starch and more protein, whereas a cake flour has more starch and less protein. So these needs to be taken care when we are using these ingredients for making roux, because ingredient makes a major difference for the quality of the product. Now, if I talk about the characteristics of a roux, so a good roux should be stiff, not runny or pourable. Now, the roux is cooked to various degrees. These degrees are normally white, blonde, and brown, which we are going to discuss in next slides. So the color required depend upon the degree of the cooking of the flour. So it is very, very important that when we are making these different degrees of roux, how we are roasting our flour. So I'm going to talk each when we are going to discuss this. And the color of the sauce depends upon the liquid and the roux used. So let's go through with that. Now, as I told you, there are three types of cooked roux are there, which is blonde roux, white roux, and brown roux. As you can see in the picture, the difference of their color. So let's discuss one by one that how we can obtain this and what are the use of each one or how can we use that into our sauce making? So first is white roux. Actually, the roux must be cooked so that the finished sauce does not have a raw, starchy taste of the flour. So it needs to be cooked at that particular degree, or to that degree that it should not have the raw or starchy taste of the flour. Now, for the white roux is cooked for just a few minutes, just enough to cook out the raw taste. And immediately the cooking is stopped as soon as the roux has a frothy, chalky, and slightly gritty appearance. Before it has begun to color, we need to immediately stop cooking. White roux is usually used for bechamel and other white sauce based on milk. As you can see in the picture, this is the way the white roux has been made. Now we'll move to the next, whereas the next is blonde roux, or we can say pale roux also. It's cooked a little longer, just until the roux begins to change to a slightly darker color. Cooking must be then immediately stopped. Otherwise, it will overcook and the flour and the fat mixture, which is known as roux, becomes more darker. Blonde roux is used for veloutés, sauces based on white stock. Now, these sauces will have a pale ivory color because of the roux of color. So this is how it looks, as we can see in the picture clearly. Next is brown roux. Now, brown roux is cooked until it takes on a light brown color and a nutty aroma. Cooking must take place over low heat so that the roux browns evenly without scorching. For a deeper brown roux, many chefs, what they do is the flour may be browned in an oven before adding to the fat. So it makes the roux in an even cooking. It does not get burnt. So this is how the different types of roux have been cooked to the various degrees, which gives a different color to the sauces, and they are used for particular kinds of sauces. Now, how these roux are added, that is very, very important. Now, how they are turned into the sauce. So there is a general principle for it. In that, there are two ways. Either we add liquid to the roux or we add roux to the liquid. So the general principle over here is the liquid may be hot or cooled, but it should not be ice cold. Because if your liquid is cold, then liquid will solidify the fat in the roux. So it is very important that your liquid should be hotter, cooled, but not ice cold. The roux may be warm or cold, but not sizzling hot. So adding a hot liquid to a very hot roux causes separating and possibly lumps. So to avoid that, one has to be at a nominal temperature and another can be hot. So vice versa. So if we are using cold stock, then the roux should be hot. Or if we are using cold roux, then the stock should be hot. This is the general principle we use for making or adding roux to the liquid. So I believe that you understood that how these thickening agent, particularly the roux. Now there are more thickening agents, which I'm going to speak about it on a part 2 of component of sauce under sauce section. So guys, I would advise you over here that after looking at the video properly, try to make it at home. So it looks easy, but it needs a lot of patience and skill, which can be acquired by a practice. So have a good day, and let's move to the part 2 of the component of sauce. Thank you.